Hey.
Told me I had to read.
Right. All right. How are you?
Yeah, there's only one.
Cool.
Question, John.
You feeling better?
When do you run for?
Vertebrae, yeah.
Fish. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Village Board meeting for January 7th, 2019. Welcome to the new year. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to remain standing for a moment. Over the weekend, we lost a former village president, Judy Everscotto, another pillar of our community. Judy was involved in 20-some years of service to the village.
29.
Historic Society, the Garden Club. She truly was a pillar of our community. Is there any member of the electorate that would like to say anything about Judy? And we all shared.
Sure, I'll say something.
Elaine. And then
Judy and we're friends, and she talked me into being on the board with our neighbor across the street, and I spent 20-some years with her. She was an in-charge person, had a big heart, would do anything for anybody in the community. She was on many organizations that I was at. Historical Garden Club, Wheeling Senior Foundation, and whatever. And I was her Uber driver, because Judy did not drive. So whenever she had to go someplace, I drove her, and the thing was, we had to leave early enough so she'd be the first one there. So we spent a lot of time sitting in the parking lot waiting for the doors to open. She was a good friend, and she will be missed.
thank you. Mary.
I think Judy has taught us all how important it is to be involved in your community, whether you're an elected official or an appointee for a commission, volunteering with the different organizations. It's something we can all learn from, and I think it's a very good example.
Thank you all. Please be seated.
Ready?
All set. You have before you the minutes of the regular meeting.
Oh, we need roll call.
Oh, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
Trustee Brady informed the board he would not be here this evening, and President Horker.
Here. Now, you have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of December 17th, 2018. Can I have a motion for their approval?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Papantos, second, Trustee Vogel. Roll call?
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Spondelis. Proclamations, Clerk Simpson.
Pam Dorband Day, January 8th, 2019. Pamela, known as Pam Dorband, served as a Plan Commissioner of the Village of Wheeling from September 21st, 1999 until her passing on November 4th, 2018. During her long tenure on the Plan Commission, Pam Dorband's attention to detail, her exacting standards, her knowledgeable application of plans and policies, and her pride in her community were tremendous assets to the Village of Wheeling. Pam Dorband's enduring legacy of service on the Plan Commission includes the review of several projects that have had a transformative effect on Wheeling streetscapes, among them the Weston Chicago North Shore at Prairie Crossings, the Wheeling Community Campus, and the Wheeling Town Center. Pam Dorband's service to Wheeling also includes tenures on the Village Board of Ethics and the Board of Directors of the Indian Trails Public Library District. Work on behalf of the business community as the membership manager of the Wheeling Prospect Heights Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and avid participation in the Wheeling Garden Club, the Wheeling Historical Society, and Wheeling Helping Hands. Pam Dorband's compassionate dedication to her family, to her neighbors, and to a life of public service testifies to her status as an exemplary citizen in whom the entire Wheeling community can rightfully take pride. Patrick Corker, President of the Village of Wheeling, Counties of Cook and Lane, in the state of Illinois, does hereby designate January 8, 2019 as Pam Dorband Day in the Village of Wheeling and calls upon the residents of Wheeling to join him in honoring her memory in recognition of her lifetime of service.
Deanna Gerber? This is just something for, it's a token, but just thank you for sharing Pam with us for all these years and everything that she's done for us. So, you want to say a few words? Why don't you introduce him? We'll step over here.
I'm not a speaker.
Thank you. That as well.
Yeah.
One more.
One more.
One more. Wait a minute. The Village of Wheeling also has the George Hieber Citizenship Award. I need you to come back up here. The Citizenship Award is for members of the community who have basically given so much of themselves that they've distinguished themselves in our community for their volunteerism and what they've done.
Yeah.
And Pam's name is already on the plaque downstairs. Well, you can look at it anyway. Oh. And this is just another, again, just another thank you we have. And thanking you. No, thank you guys very much for sharing it with us. All right. Is this me too? Oh, you want to read it?
Hmm? Oh.
This is for instance. We'll get it together. It's a new year. We would also like to recognize tonight Spears Bourbon, Burgers, and Beer. For the past several years, since 2014, Spears has been generously donating Thanksgiving meals for Sherry, your group of the people who need a little help on Thanksgiving. They're another giving part of our community. We have a lot of this in this town. It's a good town. And basically, I would just like to grant a certificate of appreciation to the owners of Spears for all that Spears has done and hopefully all that we can look forward to them contributing with in the future. Greg and Ashley, right?
Yep.
I can read. You guys, you know, we can step here, and you guys can say whatever you like. Really? Just, you know, we've had a good relationship with Spears in the past. We look forward to a long and mutually beneficial relationship with Spears in the future. Hopefully, Thanksgiving's for many years to come. You want to say anything, or just, he's pushing you forward? That means who's here with you?
I'm his wife, Ashley, and I want to thank everybody for coming in and supporting us. And we're so blessed and honored that we actually are able to provide Thanksgiving dinners and toys and coats and stuff like that. And we definitely look forward to next year. So, thank you.
Thank you. On cue. Chief Dunn, you're going to introduce for us our new...
I am, sir. Our new deputy chief.
There you go.
Last Wednesday, on January 2nd, we had the opportunity at the police department to swear in 4 new officers. The first three that we swore in are officers. The reason we did it at our police station instead of here is those officers had to report to the academy on Monday. So they're at the academy right now. It was Laura Roscoe. She's 31 years old. She lives in Grays Lake. She's a graduate of Western Illinois University. She's married to we won't hold it against her, to a fireman from Deerfield. And she has two children, Mason and Madeline, 4 and 3. Second officer we swore in was Ian Hieber. Ian is 33 years old, lives in Plainfield. He's a graduate of Augustana College with a degree in political science and a minor in philosophy. He is married and has two children, 5 and 2, Mackenzie and Hunter. The third person we hired and swore in was Jake Mueller of Prospect Heights. He lived in Prospect Heights up to a few months ago. He now lives in the city in Lincoln Park. He's a graduate of the University of Missouri with a degree in psychology. He is unmarried, so he has no children at this time. The fourth person who was sworn in, I'd like to introduce tonight and introduce to the board, is now Deputy Chief Alan Steffen. Step up here with me, Al. Al recently retired as the police chief in Prospect Heights. He was one of the original officers in Prospect Heights. He was number 1 on their eligibility list back in 1990. He has served in every position in Prospect Heights as a police officer, detective, a patrol sergeant, a detective commander, commander, and deputy chief and chief of police. He has held every rank. His formal training came at Northwestern University School of Police Staff and Command. Generally, someone attends one or both, one or the other of staff and command, but Al went the additional step and went out to Quantico, Virginia, and had some training with the FBI National Academy, NA 215. And from 1985 to 1990, Al was in the United States Army. He was discharged as a staff sergeant. So Al brings a myriad of professional experience. I had the pleasure of meeting Al 8 years ago when I went to Prospect Heights. At the time, Al was a commander with the police department. My first meeting with him was approximately 8 years, within this week, 8 years ago. And Al and I talked about 3 hours that night. He was the acting chief. We talked about what the police department meant to the community and what the police officers meant to him. And he never once said me, I. It was always we, us, and the village and the city. He's a true servant leader, and he's going to bring the right attitude to the leadership in the village of Wheeling, and I'm proud to introduce him tonight as your new deputy chief, and I'd like to introduce his family and say a few words.
Thank you, Chief Dunn. Joining me tonight is my wife, Jeannie, of 31 years, and my, and my daughter, Allison. And I wouldn't be here without them, to be honest with you. I would also like to thank all the officers that I've worked with over the years that are Wheeling officers. Joe Dawson, Jim Borchard, Mike Conway, Nacho, Bernie. And I feel also that having been in Prospect Heights for almost 30 years, I kind of went back and forth. I worked on so many cases with all your Wheeling officers over the years that I always felt like I was part of the family in Wheeling anyway. And we worked exceptionally well together. And I would like to thank all the elected officials here. John, thank you. And I look forward to continuing to serve both the residents of Wheeling and the officers of the department, because really, you know, we're all in this together, and I'd like to get them where they want to go. So thank you for this opportunity, and it is truly an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. We do have some refreshments in the lobby, some cupcakes and some drinks. I would like a motion for a 10-minute recess for refreshments.
So moved.
Second. Motion, Trustee Kruger, second, Trustee Lang. All in favor?
Aye.
10-minute recess. Please come back at 6:55.
Recall.
I'd like a motion to reconvene to regular session.
So moved.
Motion trustee Kruger, second.
Second.
Trustee Lang, roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, Clerk Simpson, citizens' concerns and comments.
Members of the public may address the committee of the board with comments regarding only those items that are relevant to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign the request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. Mr. Gauger?
Just as a reminder, this is a time for citizens to make their comments on issues relevant to village business. This is not a time for a dialogue between staff and the public. Hello, sir.
Hello. My name is Tom Gloger. I live at 104 Lynn Lane in Wheeling. And I have questions concerning the items on here. In the 13A, 13B, talking about a classification to 6B. Is that in addition to or instead of the benefits of a TIF district? Can anyone answer that, or am I out of line?
You are not out of line, and we will probably try and answer your questions when it comes up. But what was the question again?
Is the 6B, Cook County Class 6B real estate assessment, is that instead of or in addition to the benefits of a TIF district?
I can answer.
No.
No.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the PDC Incorporated Chicago. I couldn't find anything on the internet about them. Are they doing business under a different name?
I believe all your questions should be answered during the item itself.
Okay. One last one. Does this apply to both sides of Wolf Road, east and west side of Wolf Road? Because the address given here is an address on the east side of Wolf Road. I will leave the questions with you to be answered when the time comes.
The address on the west side of Wolf Road, is that 029 pin?
The Wolf Run Estates is on the west side of Wolf Road. The 1001 South Wolf Road, that would be on the east side,
Thank
one
you.
of the hangars. I will leave those with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Wilson?
Mr. Spondilis, I'm holding up in my hand here the fiscal year 2019 proposed annual operating budget that was published, I believe, was it September or October? And you had the workshop meeting on a Saturday morning that used to be a full day meeting, morning and afternoon, so residents at home could watch on TV or come to Village Hall to really have an in-depth understanding of what was going on with our budget. And then the same year that Argyris got the car, you went to a half day to get the bird's eye view of the budget. So the voters and taxpayers have even less information about what's going on with their budget. Regardless of however that meeting goes, we ought to be able to trust what you put in this budget is being true and correct. Okay, page 26, 23, forgive me, and this is drafted by, I believe that's our finance director, but you all vote to approve it, so we ought to be able to trust it. On page 23, under the 2019 prognosis, it said the general fund balance is expected to exceed 25% by the end of 2019. However, our forecasts anticipate deficits from 2020 through 2023 absent incremental increases in the village's property tax levy. As a result, I'm assuming that's our finance director, we strongly recommend that the board avoid adding any new staff to the budget. And despite, as far as I'm concerned, at any village meeting, Mr. Monteshane is the smartest guy in the room. But if this board and this village manager does not take his advice, his salary is like going down the drain. So you've got a new, you've just hired a new deputy chief. And we now have 2 deputy chiefs. Previously, we had 1. This is a brand new position created. Technically, his role, Mr. Steffens, is replacing Todd Wolf, but you created, instead of cutting Todd Wolf loose, you created a new position for him, Deputy Chief for Administration, which is basically what Commander Licari does. I don't think he needs a lot of help. He seems pretty competent to me. The only way I found out about this was through my Google Alerts, because I've got a Google Alert for Prospect Heights. So the title just announced that the guy was retiring, and as a side note, at the bottom, it said he was starting in Wheeling on January 2nd. Just enough to make that technical loophole to avoid a violation of the Open Meetings Act, which says you have to say the salary of anybody by January 1st. So as of January 2nd, how convenient, you add over $100,000 a year salary. We don't have a pension problem, we have a spending problem and an honesty problem about the budget. And it's not just Mr. Spondilis, it's everybody up here, because you approve of his decisions. He makes the day-to-day operations, those decisions, but you all approve it. Deficit's so extreme that we have to have, property tax raises every year for the next 5 years, but we have enough money for a new $100,000 plus a year salary. Who needs 2 deputy chiefs? We can't trust what you publish. We can't trust what you say at the budget meeting. You got good advice and you ignore it. You got a morale problem, so you're getting rid of the guy that created the morale problem. You put a Mr. Nice Guy above them, and that might help. But maybe you need to kick him to the curb. No other municipalities have, that many deputy chiefs. We used to have 2 deputy chiefs and 2 commanders, and then we went to 3 commanders and only 1 deputy chief, but now we've added another position that was not in existence for many at all, and a number of high-ranking staff in the police department that it's unnecessary. We're top-heavy. And you kept this all very much under the radar until he was already working. People cannot respond to what you publish in the budget document. They think they don't need to show up, and then you throw us a curveball after it's been voted on and approved. Did you have some updated one that approved this new salary, or where'd the money come from? What other accounts, because your budget is done by accounts and departments, where did that money come from? What else is losing because we hired this guy?
Ms. Wilson. Anyone else?
That's it.
Thank you. Something to say, Mr. Spondilis?
In fact, I do. Chief Dunn, would you like to explain where the salary came from for our 2nd deputy chief? And Director Monchain, if you could verify what Chief Dunn says, please.
I had asked for the opportunity to elaborate on the 2nd deputy chief during staff reports. It's kind of the wind's been taking out the sails of it a little bit, but I can go into it a little bit. What I was going to say prior to that question was that Deputy Chief Steffen is an additional deputy chief, not the deputy chief. Todd Wolf continues to serve as a deputy chief of the Wheeling Police Department. Todd does an excellent job. He has great knowledge. He's a smart man. He works hard. He loves this village. He loves this police department, and he's a good leader, regardless of what someone else might think. What the salary for the 2nd deputy chief comes from was we've done a realignment of leaders, of the leadership positions within the police department. We eliminated a sergeant's position that we were able to take those duties and distribute them to other sergeants and to other command staff members, and they added an additional deputy chief with that salary. And yes, it is a little bit more. We're all aware of that. The reason, as I went to Village Manager Sondillis with this request of the additional deputy chief numerous months ago, and this has been in the work for numerous months as we've developed and massaged the plan and worked the plan, is we are being inundated with unfunded state mandates where we have to do so much more oversight, so much more training, so much of checking the boxes and making sure we're doing things. Our police department is experiencing nothing that other area police departments are not experiencing as far as officers retiring and whatnot. During the Clinton years, over 100,000 police officers were hired, and they're all coming into the point where they can retire, take their pensions, and go on to other things. So everybody is doing mass hirings and a lot of hirings. With that happening, I wanted to bring in another senior leader to help mold our new officers so that they could accomplish the mission that we are set out before them. It in no way degrades or takes anything away from the current leadership that I have, but I think we needed a little bit more. And that is no way taking anything away from the current members we have. This is an addition to better us, not to do anything beyond that. And I thank you for your support. And again, Todd Wolf is an outstanding police officer and is excellent police executive, and we're lucky to have him with us.
Mr. Monshane?
I can confirm what the police chief said in terms of the budget and the impact on the budget. We did eliminate a sergeant position, so the net increase to the budget was rather insignificant in the overall scheme of things.
Thank you, sir. There are no other comments, and I don't see any. Clerk Simpson, consent agenda.
Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, ordinance declaring 45 mine safety appliance self-contained breathing apparatus as surplus equipment and authorizing their trade-in as part of the purchase of new units. 11B, resolution waiving competitive bids and authorizing the purchase of replacement self-contained breathing apparatus from Air One Equipment Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $233,826. Item 11C, resolution approving a revised agreement for membership in the Geographic Information System Consortium. Item 11D, resolution authorizing and directing the village manager to execute a service provider contract renewal with Municipal GIS Partners Incorporated for GIS support services in 2019 as part of the ongoing GIS Consortium initiative. Item 11E, resolution authorizing the acceptance of a previously bid contract for the purchase of Dell data center equipment and services related to computer-aided dispatch hard work upgrade in the amount of $272,264.85. Item 11F, ordinance amending Title 7 Animals of the Wheeling Municipal Code to update the limitation of numbers on number of animals. 11G, resolution granting the 2019 George Hieber Citizen Award to Pam Dorband. Item 11H, resolution approving a 3-year contract with Perfect Cleaning Service Corporation for janitorial services at village facilities in a total amount not to exceed $214,375.
Any concerns or questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion, Trustee Vogel, second.
I'll second.
Trustee Lang, roll call, please.
Okay. Who did it first?
Vogel motion, second Lang.
Okay. Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Harker?
Yes. We have no old business, so we'll move on to new business. Clerk Simpson.
13A, public hearing regarding request for Cook County Class 6B real estate tax assessment from PDC Chicago 1001 South Wolf Road and multiple properties in Wolf Run Estates.
All right, this is a public hearing for the public to make comments regarding the request for a 6B property tax exemption for 1001 South Wolf Road and multiple properties in Wolf Run Estates. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Herald. Are there any comments from the public? Should I ask that guy to come up again? Which one is this?
Hi, good evening. My name is Marianne Ligori. I live in Wolf Run. I just wanted to bring up just a couple things. This is an entire residential area. 9 parcels is resident. 4, I guess, is zoned industrial, light industrial. This butts up 15, 18 feet from this residential. It's like 17 acres there. This recently came before the board, maybe 6 months ago, Vladimir. I'm sorry, I'm just not myself today. We were part of an area that was annexed into the village, along with the 110 properties annexed into the village. Recently, the village had spent tens of thousands of dollars in notices, inspections, and litigation, kicking out businesses, landscape business, tree businesses. There's been a lot of money spent in this area. This is kind of up in the air. I've been here many times. You included me, or us, and TIFs, and multiple times on that one. I just can't do this anymore. So originally, we had 40, 50 people showing up at a time. We're all a little bit burned out by this. It's very stressful on us. So when we used to be like 60 acres. That was before Wolf Road got moved. We were just a couple acres short of incorporating ourselves. People who bought there, I don't know, 70s-ish or before that, they were actually told this area was going to be residential across from them. And then Wheeling owned part of that and industrialized it. It was in the 70s. We know what happened then at that point. We're no different than other areas, or a lot of areas in the village of Wheeling. There are 45 homes in the Meadowbrook subdivision. It's the other side of Chaddock, between West Manchester and Sunset, that their backyards have dealt with industrial uses for a long time. The homes behind Horker's Towing over there off of Milwaukee, across, there's little sections. East Chester backs up to different industry. Northgate, little cul-de-sacs off of Hintz Road and Wheeling Avenue. I'm sorry, Wheeling Road. I'm sorry, I'm on no sleep. So we were annexed along with 110 properties. And the reason we were annexed at that point was there was a plan put into action. It was the Wheeling Comprehensive Plan was underway, and it originally started out for the year 2000 and beyond. And surveys were done of the entire community. I think that was 88, 89. And then it was determined that, I guess, we didn't fit into the plan as residents for some reason. So that was, I don't know, a couple decades ago. And November 15th, the Planning Commission, you guys approved it was almost $90,000 for the station plan. And it was November 15th, and if you listen to what they had to say about how things had changed and how the whole point was to retain residents, to attract residents. And my point of that is things changed. A lot has changed. So we've been a couple decades into the village. We don't have services like everybody else. We have no water, no sewer. You refuse to bring that in. Curbs, lights. We don't even have a street sweeper come by us. We are the only street in the village that does not have that. Just is, just the way it is, kind of ignored while you guys got your sewers relined and all that other stuff. We pay more taxes than a lot of people in Wheeling on top of that. We're at $9,000, $10,000 a year per parcel. So you did that, you put us in TIF twice. You took businesses away from homeowners. They were there for decades. They contributed, they employed people. All they had was some landscaping trucks or tree trucks. And now what we have before us, it's a monster of a project. It's a huge building. I need water, excuse me. All this is in yellow. This is an entire residential area. So they're coming in and asking to pick it apart. Now, I think it'd be different if it was a project as a whole, like it should be. There's not one other area like this, not just in Wheeling, but anywhere. So getting back to the plan, does this mean that we're leaving others susceptible like we are? So the Dundee Road subplan concept, some of the older multifamily residential developments along Dundee and 83 or Elmhurst Road create a negative visual image that detracts from the image of Dundee as a commercial corridor. Are we going to be setting precedents? And now we're going to start picking apart little neighborhoods. Take Dundee and Schaumbeck, their backyards right there would make great commercial or retail. The McHenry Road, the Horker Farm, only significant pieces of vacant land. While retail development can certainly improve Wheeling's sales tax base, it will do little to Wheeling's status as an upscale resident community. Does that mean that if Horker family wants to now sell to something that they can make more money off of this land that they've contributed to this village many, many years in many different ways? Nope, we can't let them do this because the plan says single family. That's it. Are we setting precedents? So there's 5 TIF districts in Wheeling. It's 9 square miles. Half the town is TIF'd. Deb Wilson at one point had made an interesting comment, an intelligent, interesting comment, when she talked about how Northbrook compared us 10 years ago to today. So in the last 10 years ago, we were middle of the road with our property taxes. Today, there's 1 or 2 communities, that's it, that pay more than us. And my question to the developer also, if there was going to be TIF request along with this. So November 15, I recommend people watching that meeting because that was very exciting with the Planning Commission, just to hear the station information. Really recommend watching that. A lot of residents are concerned with, oh my God, the traffic's going to be terrible now, and they're blaming you on some level. And it was very exciting and interesting to have a different concept of walking and biking. Just wanted to recommend that to people. So the developer develops distribution facilities, huge distribution facilities. They got Elk Grove, Carroll Stream, these are the ones in Illinois, Skokie, Romeoville. One of them, I think, took 5 or 6 years to become occupied. I'm not sure on that one. Maybe they can enlighten us. So they've never done anything with this small acreage. These facilities, 716, 318, it's almost 1 million square feet. They vary in size. These developers all the buildings look the same. There's no grass or green, and it's fine. They all look the same. And maybe they're successful with that. I don't understand why they're trying to pick apart a neighborhood and not do this on a grander scale, first of all. This is what they do. They've never built the amount of square feet that the building that they want to build, they've never done that on 8 acres. Just hasn't happened. I also didn't see plans come attached with that. Didn't give the Planning Commission opportunity to pick it apart. They do an excellent job with the nitty-gritty and the details. There's a reason that we have everything in process. You present the plans. Do we need another spec building? So let's take a look at what we have. First of all, speculative. I pulled the definition based on, this is from Cambridge English Dictionary, based on a guess, not on information. So speculative, when you're talking finance, it's done in order to make a profit, even though there's a risk that you may lose money. Spec development. The last spec development was 1075 Chaddock Drive. Kerry Goldman, who was with Cytex, he's not with them anymore. He was with Cytex. He came in and he kind of tried to swoon everybody and say, he actually said he grew up in the industrial park over here. And he also said it's going to bring like 95 jobs. At this point, that building, there's only 32,000 square feet available. 70% of the building is occupied by its storage, like a garage. That's it. There's no jobs. We granted them the 6B. They weren't in a TIF, or I'm sure they would have asked for that also. This property, when it came up, Estes in September of 2013, a trucking company, Vladimir, 2015, and then Cytex. So this property came up. And right now, most of the building, all it did was create big shadows on our properties over there. It took away our heat, took away the sun. I lost an hour and a half a day of sun in the winter because of how huge it is. All it is, it's going to be a garage. There's no jobs. It's not manufacturing like they talked about. 70% of the building's taken by a garage. There is absolutely no revenue. We granted them a 6B with the hope. It's a spec building. You know, when Vlad came before, he did the work. He did a traffic study. They did lights. They talked about noise, pollution. None of this has been presented, and they're asking you for tax money now, or a tax break for the next decade at least. There's no market study. We don't know about safety. We don't know about ingress, egress. We don't know about the, and I'm sure in Vlad's eyes, I know, he sees it like it's the same exact thing he wanted to do, but he had to do all the work and he had to spend all the money to get to this point. For the same exact thing, pretty much, that they're doing, because they're not presenting potential businesses. They're not presenting, they just took a guess. So many square feet, it could bring so many jobs. We didn't give the Planning Commission a chance to even pick this apart, or the residents to even scrutinize over this. They're just asking, we're going to take 8 acres. We'd not like to pay money on this. The industrial space availability report. There's 38 buildings on here. This is from John, Economic Development. A third of those buildings, it's almost a third, completely empty. Those buildings are located exactly in the same 5-minute walkable area as this 8 acres. You can look it up yourself at some point. Those third of these 38 buildings, I think it was like 11 or 12 buildings, completely abandoned. Most likely, they're going to be coming and asking for 6B at some point also. And how many times are we going to just give it away? Just give it away for 2 developers for their profit. And this is taking away from the taxing bodies. I mean, this last November, we had an election that the schools asked for money. How did we get into this situation? We can't just so nonchalantly just, okay, sure, oh, you can have it, you can have it, you can have it, you can have it. It's gotten us into the situation between all the TIFs and all of the 6B tax incentives that we've just given away. So the industrial space availability report, there's some just errors, not a big deal. But there's almost 1 million square feet of available property, and it varies in size from 1,200 to, it just varies in size for how many square footage that a potential manufacturer or business would like to get. But it's 1 million, it's 1 million square feet available. Then that doesn't include Sam's Club or Allstate. It's not on here. It's too bad. Like number 1, in December, they just opened it up. They added another 7,228 square feet. Number 4, which is 685 Chaddock, they went down in their price per rent. I'm just telling you this because this needs to be updated, and you didn't get any information other than, oh, we just want to build this, and it's an you just didn't get the information, and you cannot make decisions for this community because of how much we have lost this last year, including Sam's Club, Allstate, Skokie Beverage. There's some errors on here. One of the ones I was concerned with is VS Industries. It's 900 South Chaddock. Their building size is 75,902 square feet. Before they left, they were generating $16 million a year tax sales. $16 million. That building has remained empty for 5 years. This is a 5-minute walk from the same exact area that they want to do this. We have 1/3 of the buildings are empty right there. So I don't want you to be under the illusion that, well, that's going to build this big shell and we'll just divide it up into a couple different businesses. We have this availability already in the village, and you should want more for this area, more for the residents of Wheeling. There's some on here that's actually part of the Wheeling Prospect Heights Chamber of Commerce, or they share area with them, or they're their next door neighbor. I could give you information if you'd like that one. Smalley Steel, they went to Lake Zurich, just lost a lot. There's another error, 20, they have available 5,381 square feet. So there's a few minor mistakes, and a couple of them was because it's more square footage opened up November and December. It's not John's fault, but you did not have this information before this meeting today. Skokie Valley, available 29,000 square feet. They were done in August. We gave Skokie Valley 2 6Bs, by the way. So the first page, the one thing that you did have is a list of 6B property tax incentive applicants. So it's just the list of everyone that we've given this to. I don't know, this should have been scrutinized more. The first page, there's multiple ones that have had it twice. And you guys did a great job. You were on the board. You did a great job of making sure that it's a one-time thing. No more after that. So this list is from since 1986. So 32 years of 6Bs. You haven't denied one in a long time. Denied the renewal in 2010. And then the FedEx one. It's basically been since 91. You haven't denied a 6B. Keep giving away. Because the whole theory and thought behind it was industry. And we didn't really take a look at the negative side and how we came into this position of how high our taxes are. So the last 2 years, we've given away the 6B. It's over 42 acres worth of property in Wheeling. Wheeling's only 9 square miles. you've given the last 2 years alone, so it's, I guess it's everybody on this board, because just the last 2 years, 15 businesses, yeah, that's the average of more than one a month. 15 businesses have received the 6B. With this, it'll be 16 if you grant it. And then with this, 1,834,771. So I took a look at what happens. So 6B, you get 10 years, 11 years, 12 years of reduced tax, a great amount of reduced tax. It's the same as you pay property taxes like a homeowner. It's supposed to be 25%, when you pay 10. So if you look, starting with number 59, A1 contractors, they're on Marquardt. All the ones on here too are in that one little area too, by the way, or most of them are. A1's gone. Jupiter's gone. Computer World Solutions, number 62, gone. That was Kevin Gore. Logan Knitting Mills, Velos, they left exactly at 10 years. They went to Buffalo Grove. That's number 67. Skokie Valley, we gave them 2 6Bs. They're gone. 69. 71 is a different company, 72. So anyway, so 10, 11 years ago, we gave this to them, and most of these companies, they're gone. There was one that was solid, and it employed 5 people, which is great. They weren't, you know, but they're gone. So I think we need to be very careful. Philos Group, oh, here. They're in Buffalo Grove now. Jupiter, it's in Des Plaines. Kevin Moore, CEO of Computer World, $17 million bank fraud. He was arrested. It was a couple years after we gave it to him. Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau. They just got rid of Skokie Valley for us. We had a lot of losses. We had Allstate, 220 jobs. Allstate, what they paid in taxes alone. Sam's Club, same thing. VS Industries, huge employment as well. Gone. Applicants are advised that merely applying for a program will not necessarily qualify the property for a participation in an incentive program. Cook County applies the but-for test to each application. Under that test, assessing officials must be made reasonably certain that the proposed project will not become a reality, but for the existence of tax incentives. Potential applicants should know that Cook County Board is currently in the process of studying proposals which, if passed, will limit the number of properties that qualify for participation in a tax incentive program. Additionally, in order to keep a property enrolled in the program, there are numerous requirements that must be met annually. Program changed. You guys, I'm sure you're well aware of this. So we just can't go business as usual. So from the Cook County Board, this is Preckwinkle. The companies, they were very proud. They gave 3 incentives. Receiving these incentives have demonstrated their commitment to our communities and residents. These people who are coming in, we don't know anything about them. They haven't been here. They haven't, nothing. And that's fine, as long as it works out well for everybody. Took a look at what other villages do. You guys do that quite a bit. And this is what Northbrook does. Northbrook businesses provide services. Okay, this is their application for the 6B. They want to know if you're going to be providing services. I'm just telling you this because these are some of the things that we need to implement and change and add to. Our thing hasn't been updated since 2014, I think, and things changed. Northbrook requires, they want to know if they provide services or supplies. Will the project require the village to invest in public infrastructure improvements? If so, what percentage of these costs of improvements will the business or developer contribute? They want to describe the business. They don't know because it's a spec. Describe the business history of contributing to its community through volunteer work, financial contributions, or other means. If new startup means, please demonstrate the business commitment to becoming involved in the community. They also ask, has the current owner of the subject property filed a vacancy appeal? I'm telling you all this for a reason. It needs to qualify. Northbrook, provide an explanation document why the site in question is difficult to lease or sell due to age, size, condition. What do they do? I didn't even see a for sale sign or anything like that. They want to provide projected number of employees. They have no idea. They want to know if these employees are full-time, part-time, or seasonal. They don't want this in their village for seasonal employees. They want to provide the projected total annual payroll for the Northbrook facility. They also ask about environmental impact, comprehensive energy and resource efficiency programs. We haven't asked that at all of anybody ever. Not even the town center. It was concerning. Are they recycling? But including green buildings, certification, binding energy efficient commitments, comprehensive waste reduction, waste exchange, products, services, development. We do this also. They can't have another one after the 12 years. There's many things a lot of things they want to know. Okay, so Northbrook broke it down for their trustees, kind of like how you did when you were breaking down the concept review for our trustees. John, I thought that was really a great meeting. I thought you did good. So that it's 50% consideration, 30% consideration, and 20%. So they list what's 50%, the 20%, and they list it. It's very concise. And then they also have a bonus, higher consideration to be given for a more environmentally sound company's operation, including not limited to comprehensive energy, resource efficiency, goes on and on. They also ask for a $5,000 application fee and escrow deposit. They also run this by our public taxing bodies. They have a minimum of a 45-day public review for the schools and parks and that kind of stuff. Niles does the same thing. Should make every attempt where feasible to employ locally and utilize local. Village support should be tied to a specific business. They're very specific. You can't just do this. It needs to be a specific business that will occupy the entire life. It's about commitment to the community. It's about these businesses having commitments. Glenview also does 45-day public review on it. So it's not just tonight, one night, take a vote. I don't think that's appropriate. I think you need to step back. We have spent so much. You have given away, and a lot of it has turned out great. Not all of it. Not all of it. A ton has just been given away with 6B. It's incredible. What, 12, 13, 15 over the last 2 years? It's more. The average is more than once a month. There's 113 towns in Cook County, including Chicago. Where do you think we fall on how much we've just given away? And then why do you think we are where we are? There needs to be some caution. This is our money. There's only 4 eligibility requirements. So the Institute of Government and Public Affairs, Public Policy Research Organization at the University of Illinois, cutting edge research, analysis, engaged public and dialogue, education, practical assistance in decision-making to government and policymakers. This is actually showing the different municipalities and where they are. And so now we only have 9 square miles, and we're trying to have the vision of Wheeling as an upper scale community, and you just can't do all this and all this industry. You need industry, but not to give it away. John at one point, I think it was in the Wheeling Prospect Heights Chamber, had said that we were tight. So let's wait for something that we know, something that they're bringing in that we know that is 100% not going to be used as a garage. when you have a property in a TIF, you need to generate as much money as you can per square foot. We have no idea what this is, and when you're dealing with a spec building, you have no idea what it is. So, procedures and application, Village of Wheeling, Cook County Real Estate Classification, that needs to be updated also. There was some other stuff that came in. First of all, it's a new guy, Fritz, instead of Joe, Barrios is in now. So in order for the village board to make an informed decision relative to the application, Brady, Kruger, Lang, Vogel, you were all here, you signed it. It was well done because you need as much information as possible. We don't have that information available to us because it's a spec building. We have a couple people we can reach out to, people who are in the TV viewing audience. If you have questions, Dan Patlack. I was Teddy's Boy Scout leader. It's a great family. Phone number is 312-603-3651. Scott Britton, 312-603-4932. He's a county board commissioner for the 14th district. Things I liked about him, his environmental issues and sustainability. Everybody's part of the Forest Preserve, Botanic Garden. They understand and take things well balanced. J. Thomas at cookcountyassessor.com, 312-603-7929. Questions for 6B. So if anybody's out there having questions or agree, feel free to reach out. In their application, I didn't see it because you don't post it. I'm sure it's for privacy reasons, but it talked about specific pollutants, water, airborne, toxic odor, glare, noise. We have no idea. Architectural plans, this is what you're in schematic drawings. Duration of abandonment, it hasn't been abandoned. It's still just a residential area. Employment information, this isn't our stuff. Description of sales tax, tax increment financing. This isn't our stuff. And explaining the criteria of reutilizing abandoned property. So if it's incompatible land use, relationships, or use may be considered noxious, offensive, or environmentally unsuitable. It's doing the opposite. It's doing the opposite of that right now. It's green, it's trees, it's homes, and they're asking to just pick apart part of a neighborhood. So the Cook County 6B changed with the living wage ordinance, and there's different specifications. I won't have to get into it. I'm sure I'm already boring you people. You nice, respectful people. So it changed, and ours is not updated. It's a different assessor. It has just changed, and that needs to be looked at because rules have been implemented in order for even these properties to keep this as part of their thing. So again, 9 out of 4, it's all residential area. So you're gonna decide this, and I'm recommending you just table it so you get all updated information and you take a hard look at this before you just give it away again. Promote and preserve industrial uses. We should do that. Let's respect the people who are trying to get their buildings filled now. I told you how much there's still available. It's 1 million square feet available. Let's respect them. And provide, anyway, these are ours. You know what they say. I don't have to go over all this with you. I'm sure my voice is even boring. I'm sorry, I'm on no sleep. This is a residential area. The stuff that came out at the Planning Commission, it was less than 6 months ago. So that's part of the thing. For them to qualify, it has to be for no other reason. Otherwise, if they don't get it, it won't be built. I just told you how many people have offered on these other properties right there, very similar. But if they don't get it, the but-for question. Vladimir had to go through a hell of a lot. I've talked to him personally after the fact. When he applied, when you know, Bill Hine was one person who said something that really stood out. He said that it's just our job, we only have so many acres, and it's your job to protect them. So with that understanding, knowing that we need to get as much out of each square footage, why, I can't live next to this. I can't live next to, first of all, construction for a year or two and the noise, and then the God knows whatever's coming with that. There's no traffic study, and we talked about all this less than 6 months ago about how this affects everyone else. Just not even forget the neighborhood there. How does it affect everyone else? So it's going to be this huge building that's going to dwarf these things. And so then people who drive by will see that, and they'll know it's not right. It will stand out like a sore thumb. This big building, it'll be similar to the one at North Gate and Lake Cook. So the answer to this, when they come and ask you here, is you need more information, because you've had multiple things that have been presented to you that are outdated. You didn't have enough information so you can make an informed decision. Take a look at what we've done in the past. Take a look at what everyone else does. We have history. You can see how it goes. And then you also need to take into consideration all the losses we had. It's very similar lot sizes like Skokie Valley. We just had a lot of losses this year. Our taxes just keep going up. It needs to come to a stop. So the chamber, dedicated to promoting a vibrant business environment, voice for businesses, we have to respect. Yes?
Could you kind of just pull it together?
I know you're bored, but this is my life, and I don't want to be here. I've been here many times. For what reason? It was you, Mr. Horker, that blocked the airport years ago from making an offer. It was you were over here on the side. I have a memory like that. And I asked you, years ago, you wisely said, we don't want the airport to grow into a monster. Those are your words. You were not wrong.
Okay.
But you prevented us from being bought out. At that point, you prevented the airport from making an offer. Not you personally, you when you were a trustee.
Oh.
I understand this is a lot, and I don't want to be here.
Well,
My son's
actually,
in
my
the hospital
concern is
right now, so I do want to get through this because I need to go right back there, okay?
Well,
Okay,
you've
I'm
been
not
kind of
repetitious.
well-
I am completely being appropriate. It's an outdated comprehensive plan with this area. Outdated, we need more information. You can at least get a traffic study. There's no buffer between what they want to do and the 17 acres of homes that are over there, and it's something that you don't know what it is. This is the smallest scale thing they've ever built. Why is this not on a larger scale? We can make more per square feet when you have industrial square footage. It's different than residential. Why don't you insist on that? Come back to us with a better plan, because we're not going to do this to our residents. I'm asking you to help protect your residents, and I just stopped doing this to me. I know that was a lot. I know you don't want to hear me, and I don't want to be here, and I shouldn't be here. This is not appropriate, what you're doing to me. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. LaGloria. Is there anyone else?
That's it. Okay.
As there are no other residents willing to come forward with comments, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Kruger, second, Trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. B, Clerk Simpson.
Item 13B, resolution consenting to Cook County Class 6B real estate tax assessment classification for 1001 South Wolf Road and multiple properties in Wolf Run Estate in the village of Wheeling, Illinois.
Mr. Melenefi, you want to come up and explain this, please, or from wherever you are? There you are.
Thank you, President Horker. I'd like to just address a few things before I get into the 6B. First of all, we have 14 million square feet of manufacturing facilities in Wheeling. We're the 5th largest manufacturing concentration in the state of Illinois. So some of these other communities, they might not have as many Class 6Bs. We have actually backfilled sites that were underutilized, that were vacant, and by putting a building on them with jobs, with people, generate more taxes than were ever generated on those sites. The CoStar report, which was identified, is a third-party vendor that we use to show vacant space. And so even if there were 1 million square feet available, our vacancy rate would be less than 10%. It's actually more like 6%. We're in one of the hottest industrial markets we've ever been in. And we have about $300 million in development underway in various stages in Wheeling that I'm personally very proud of. We have a lot of things happening in Wheeling, making this community better every day, bringing employment, sales tax revenue, and so forth. And so we see this project will go before the Plan Commission. No specific plans have gone before the Plan Commission. The developer is not going to move forward without a Class 6B to remain competitive with our neighbor to the north in Lake County in Buffalo Grove. And we all face that in our industrial parks. But specific to this application, we don't have enough time to reiterate or refute a lot of the statements that were made before. But we received a Class 6B property tax application from PDC Chicago, which they'd like to construct a speculative industrial facility on the Wolf Run Estates property, generally located at 1020 to 1030 Carroll Lane, and the frontage properties along Wolf Road. The applicant is an affiliate of Panettone Development, which acquire and develop industrial properties in select markets. They have built state-of-the-art facilities in infill locations, and they've identified this parcel as the only available vacant site that would accommodate this size facility. The applicant has placed this property under contract, and they intend to improve the site with a 162,000 square foot speculative multi-tenant industrial building, and which would be suitable for light manufacturing, assembly, warehousing, and product distribution uses. And they would not get the 6B, even if it's approved tonight, until they actually build the building and occupy the facility. So, they're going to have to get the approval and then go before the Plan Commission, and when the property is actually built and occupied is when they would receive any Class 6B incentive. As highlighted in their contingency clause, they're not going to move ahead unless they get a Class 6B. The acquisition and subsequent investment would only be possible with the Class 6B incentive, and the applicant asserts that they wouldn't be able to attract any tenants. They're going to look at other communities in Lake County that have lower property taxes. And so the Class 6B has been our primary tool to occupy vacant industrial buildings, as well as to incentivize development on vacant land in the village. This property, assuming a redevelopment, development of the property, would generate a lot more sales tax revenue based on a development budget of approximately $13 million, including the acquisition costs. They would generate approximately $470,000 per year in reassessment versus the $37,000 that the property is currently generating. So the subject property is currently zoned R1A and is occupied by some single-family residential uses. So this industrial development would generate significantly greater property tax revenue, even with a Class 6B. The applicant has actually forecast that it would employ approximately 75 to 125 employees. Again, that is true. That is a forecast. We don't know the exact end users at this point, but they would also create temporary construction jobs during the construction of the facility. We have a very stringent application form that we've used and have updated, and the assessor just got sworn in before this application came before us, but we'll get that updated. But we went through our process. We reviewed the application. We recommend approval of the Class 6B based on new construction of an industrial facility. This would be the third speculative industrial building in Wheeling. We hadn't seen that in over 2 decades, so we have a very viable market. The property on Chaddock is going to be occupied by Hidden Valley Ranch. It's already 53,000 square feet of the 84,000 square feet is going to be occupied, and the other building on 720 Northgate Parkway is already leased to a company that's going to take half the building. So that was a vacant property. Finally, the building meets all the objectives of the Southeast 2 TIF District Redevelopment Project Plan to create large industrial buildings and employment in the TIF district. I could some of the other questions that Mr. Glauger brought up. So the company PDC is Panattoni Development. They have not requested any TIF dollars, but yet we have not, they need to go through the Plan Commission and so forth, but we have discussed that, and it doesn't look like they are going to be asking for any TIF. And this development is on the west side of Wolf Road and not on the east side because of the airport property that is part of this project that's on the west side of Wolf Road. It had a address that correlates with the airport. So with that, the applicant is here to answer any questions should the board have any questions. Thank you.
Trustee Papantos, then Trustee Vogel.
Can we have the applicant, please? Sorry, long night.
Good evening.
Hi. What do you expect who are you going to market the spec building to for people to come in?
It'd be a cross-section of industrial users, from light industrial, distribution users, light manufacturing, really whatever's allowed in the zoning.
And what type of zoning do you think this property should have?
I believe, I1 or I2.
Okay.
I think which is consistent in the area.
Right. And with the 6B, what will your annual property tax rate, or what will your annual property tax be expected to be?
Our tax consultants think it's $470,000 per year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Vogel?
This question, John, can you reiterate again? You said that the taxes we collect now from all the taxing bodies is how much?
$37,000.
And it's expected to go to $470,000?
That's correct.
So that's
according
a 12,
to the application.
12-fold increase.
Absolutely.
So there definitely is a tax increase. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I have any other questions from the board? Left and right. If there are no other questions, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Papantos, second Trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger? Yes. Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
13C, ordinance granting special use site plan approval for a short-term lending facility at 353 North Milwaukee Avenue, Express Auto Title Loans, docket number 2018-29.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you, President Horker. The applicant, Express Auto Title Loans, is an existing Wheeling business that's submitted a petition for special use to relocate to the former CarQuest building on the north side, north end of town, on the east side of Milwaukee Avenue, just south of the Westin Hotel. The petitioner is requesting the special use for a specific unit in this building. The unit would be 1,400 square feet out of the 7,600 square foot building. Through the Plan Commission hearing, The petitioner indicated while they intend to pursue acquisition of the building, they are not yet under contract, so they are a prospective tenant in this building. The discussion with the Plan Commission included potential additional work on the building should the petitioner ultimately purchase the building, but for this time what they're proposing to do is repainting of the bollards and the doors, clean up some of the landscaping, and remove the trash enclosure and repair what is left behind after the trash enclosure is removed. The Plan Commission has recommended approval. The petitioner is here to answer any questions that you might have. The Plan Commission recommendation included the following conditions of approval, which are in the draft ordinance that's in front of you for consideration. Number one, prior to occupancy, the man doors on the north and south building facades and the bollards surrounding the building shall be painted. Number two, the trash enclosure shall be removed and the pavement below shall be repaired by no later than April 30th. Number three, a new certificate of occupancy is required. And number four, all commercial vehicles shall be removed from the property. As I said, the petitioner is here if you have any questions. I can also answer any questions you might have on the application.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Trustee Lang and then Trustee Kruger.
Thank you. Petitioner? And this is partly for staff too, but welcome.
Thank you.
So, Andrew, does this have a potential of being a multi-business unit or just one business operating out of here?
So the application in front of you is for a specific portion of the building. It's currently vacant, and the petitioner would be leasing a portion of the building of about 1,400 square feet. The rest of the building isn't divided up yet, and there are no other tenants who are the subject of this application.
Is your intent to purchase this building?
Yes.
And then subdivide it for other tenants as well?
Yes, in the future.
Okay. All right, I just wanted that clarification. Also, I didn't see it in the report, but did the Plan Commission talk about the fenced-in area in the back? Was that being cleaned up?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be cleaned up. I just think I have it till April to clean it up, everything.
Sure.
Weather permitting. That's what we agreed on.
Okay. And what other types of businesses are you looking to occupy that? And how many?
I have, for now, just want to, because our currently building is getting knocked down, so I need to kind of move. And that, in the future, I was planning to just separate it, maybe retail, maybe something like some kind of, I'm not really sure yet.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Kruger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hi.
Oh, hello. Sorry.
First of all, I realize that this project is before us because you have you're displaced
Yes.
from your current location,
Yes.
and that you've been a business
For 20 years.
for 20 years, correct. And so thanks for wanting to figure out something to stay in town. I noticed, I watched both of the Plan Commission meetings, and I read your special use application, and you do make a pretty strong statement that you intend to improve, pave, stripe, and repair the parking lot.
Yes.
That is not a condition of tonight's approval, but are you going to do that?
I would have to, yes.
Okay, that's good. Andrew, thank you for clarifying that currently this gentleman is a tenant as opposed to an owner, so that was helpful to me. The only other question I have is about the monument sign out in the front. As you see on the sign, the CarQuest Auto Parts. What do you intend to do with that monument sign?
As currently, I'm trying to use it as is, but eventually I was planning to replace it with something better.
Okay, but something that says your company name?
Yes.
Or?
No, it's going to be my company name.
All right, I'm sure you'll go through the sign process and
Yes.
the Plan Commission and staff. Andrew, is it possible to make the parking lot improvements a condition of approval tonight?
As far as the staff understands, he's a potential contract purchaser. He has indicated that he is attempting to purchase the building. I would not recommend, typically, unless he's in agreement, I would not recommend expanding the scope to include the entire property. Although he does seem to be willing to discuss it.
Well, that's why I asked, because it seems that the petitioner is quite intent on fixing that parking lot. So If you are, and that is a condition of your approval for your special use, are you agreeable to that?
I prefer not at this moment, but yeah, I mean, I would fix it eventually, the weather permitting, because it doesn't look very good, so I would have to do it.
Yeah, there's some, I looked at some Google Earth images and saw some standing water and the alligatoring and potholing. It looks kind of bad. Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. Other side. Sorry. First of all, once again, thank you for choosing to stay in Wheeling. I appreciate the fact that you are going to a building that's vacant and want to do more with it. Are you considering, if you do purchase the building, trying to bring some of the tenants that are currently occupied in the same building that you're at on Dundee?
Yes, actually, one of the tenants is going with me. I was hoping to get more clients, but it kind of dragged out a little bit more. I mean, all of the tenants were willing to go, but by the time we started the process and I had to do it twice with the Planning Commission, they kind of moved out because we don't have heater on a top floor and everything. Almost everybody left.
Okay. And I just want to make sure and clarify to you that right now this special use is for your 1,400 square foot portion of the building, and that any other work that might need to be done would be done through permitting and occupancy.
Yes.
You do understand that? Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Do we have any other questions from Trustee Vito?
Andrew, there's no bike rack on this one? Because this I can actually see, because when you default on a loan and they repo your car and you go there to argue about it, you might ride your bike. This one actually makes sense, but I'm just kidding. So that's all I had to say. I have nothing else.
Well, it's not a part of it, so we're going to move forward. If there are no other comments, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
So move.
Motion, Trustee Lang, second.
Second.
Trustee Kruger, roll call, please.
Papantos.
Trustee Papantos, my mistake.
Okay.
Through her voice.
Okay. Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How is there no bike rack? I don't know.
I noticed that too.
No?
Okay.
We're going to move forward.
13D?
Yes.
Resolution accepting a bid from Radicom Incorporated, accepting a grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, waiving competitive bids for select equipment and authorizing the purchase of new radio communication equipment at a cost not to exceed $196,976.
Chief McIsaac.
Thank you very much. This is a continuation of a multi-year process of upgrading the radio equipment in the fire department. We were very fortunate, due to the efforts of Deputy Chief McGreal and firefighter paramedic Meisinger, to acquire a grant from FEMA for $122,896. So the vast majority of this year's radio purchase is being funded through a FEMA grant.
Thank you, Chief. Questions from the board? Left. Questions quiet.
So moved.
Second.
Who was first?
I don't know.
Kruger.
Trustee Kruger. Trustee Kruger. Second, Trustee Vogel.
Kruger. Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Well done, FD. Yes.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Item E, resolution approving the final appearance of the Village of Wheeling Gateway signs, SCBA 18-57.
Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The Plan Commission has submitted its recommendation to the board following roughly a year or so of discussion regarding the replacement of the existing gateway signs for the Village of Wheeling. The board authorized the manager to enter into a contract for the design and installation of the replacement signs for our existing monument signs. Our entry monument signs, you can see in the top right of this photograph here, are in disrepair, and we as a staff had previously asked the board whether you'd like to allocate funds for the continued upkeep of those signs or consider a replacement program. The decision of the board was, as you know, to pursue the replacement program, which is in our capital projects budget now. The concept design was included in an RFP. Parvin Klaus submitted the proposal that the village chose to accept. And at this point, the Plan Commission has reviewed the refined images. The Plan Commission recommendation matched the staff recommendation, which you can see here, which is a Corten steel, which is an oxidized steel support structure, which holds the sign panel. This sign panel would be internally illuminated, but using backlit reverse channel letters so that you'd see sort of a halo effect. The night sign doesn't really show up on this screen too well, but you do have the sign in your packets. The landscaping would also be replaced in conjunction with the sign replacement program. A sign landscape plan would apply to 11 of the 12 signs. The 12th sign, which is the sign near the Milwaukee and Lake Cook area, we've got some additional space, so there's a deluxe landscape package which is included in your packet as well. So at this stage, you have the Plan Commission recommendation in front of you. Staff is requesting the board's consensus. Should the board approve this, the next step of that, the project would be for the sign company to provide a final estimate of the construction cost. They had originally provided us an estimate based on sort of the placeholder, the way the contract is phrased. The next phase of the program, the fabrication and installation does not begin until the board approves the final contract amount for the next phase. So that and the green light from IDOT, because 6 of the signs are part of are included in the IDOT right-of-way, would be required before we give them the green light for the next phase. As noted in the report, the Plan Commission, as I said, has recommended this sign. There was a different sign also shown, but the sign that you see in front of you is the recommendation from the Plan Commission. I believe we do have an image of the landscape plan if you'd like to see that. Representative of the sign company, Brian Newton from Parvin Klaus, is here if you have any questions for him, and I'm also happy to answer any questions you might have.
Trustee Lang.
Thank you. Andrew, the signs look fantastic. I know there a lot of work went into this. Thanks to all that have, John, you included, that had a hand in this. Signs look great. I've asked before, I'll just ask again. Eastbound Dundee Road, are we anywhere on a possibility for a sign there?
So as you probably saw in the Plan Commission hearing, there was some discussion of that. What we've done at this point, because there is no final decision, that we are exploring it. The Plan Commission is aware that we're exploring it. So the Plan Commission recommendation gives the flexibility of this design to be applied to any additional sign location should we decide on one. At this point, the fabrication phase would begin only for the 12, but with the understanding that if we're able to get easements and everything that's necessary for an additional sign location, that this design would be the design applied to that.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, of course, everything Director Jennings said is accurate. Grander scheme, there are only a couple of options. We are pursuing those options to try and make this happen.
Great. And I figured you were. I just wanted to ask publicly. And then the life expectancy, I might have missed that from a previous report. What can we expect on the life of these signs? And the other ones, when they start falling apart, they really started going. So,
well, the Corten steel, part of the reason that we've recommended this is that it does have a relatively long life expectancy. I would ask Mr. Newton to cover the electrical components and the rest of the sign, though.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here tonight. The life expectancy, as Andrew was talking about, for the steel is, it's extremely long. Basically, the initial oxidization phase is where you're going to get your rusting, which we will actually expedite that process in the fabrication phase. So when you actually get a raw piece of the Corten steel, it actually comes looking like a mill dark colored gray. and then we actually expedite that process to get it to that kind of rusty, goldish, kind of reddish color. Really the only issues as far as maintenance is going to be concerned is going to be with the electrical components. We're using all LED components. We're using high-end LED components, Sloan LED. Those have 5-year warranties as far as the lights themselves, but LED works off of half-life. So essentially what that is that it's a 100,000 hour rated half-life. What that means is that 100,000 hours from day one to 100,000 hours, it's half the brightness of what it was originally. So this is an incandescent bulb, and you're changing a lot of incandescent bulbs all the time. This is essentially just the tolerance of the light degradation over the course of time. So the LED will last a good long amount of time. You'll get your use out of the LED long before you have to worry about replacement. To say that it is 100% maintenance free would be false. There are electrical components inside of the sign that will require to be replaced every once in a while with power supplies. But in terms of technology, where we're at today versus where we were at even 5-10 years ago, is that you're talking about a $100 power supply as opposed to $500 ballasts where you were probably used to changing out on some of the signs lights now. So the maintenance is significantly less.
Thank you. Again, great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. I just want to clarify, the signs right now, the 12 signs are going in the same locations that we have our entrance signs throughout the village?
That's correct.
Okay. And where will the signs get power, like the sign that's in the Forest Preserve along Milwaukee Avenue or on Dundee?
I believe that's sign 10, and as I understand it, there's currently solar power there. As we've seen it, we have surveyed all of the locations to this point. We do recommend replacing that solar power, but that's the only location that doesn't currently have power. The rest of the locations do have lighting as it stands already.
Okay, so when you say replacing the solar power, you'd put electricity in, or?
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah, so essentially what we would be doing is replacing the solar panel.
Okay.
And how solar works is the panel actually captures the lighting, which is converted into electricity, which is saved in batteries. So I don't know how old that unit is that's out there, but it is significantly aged, and we recommend replacing the panel altogether and then replacing the batteries that store the energy.
I noticed that, and we're talking about the one on Milwaukee Avenue, was like destroyed one day. Was that because somebody hit it or what? And what will these signs hold up any better, or?
Yes, I actually learned of this at the Planning Commission meeting, last month. I wasn't aware that sign had been knocked over, and there's no interest of replacing it, obviously, at this point because of the project in hand. We're talking about steel versus a faux material. So the current signs are HDU with faux material on the outsides. So they're a little bit more fragile, susceptible to damage. So they're susceptible to vandalism. Steel signs, you're not going to have that problem.
Okay. And when you talked about the LED lights and the half-life, does that mean that most of the lights are going to theoretically dim in unison and then go out in unison for replacement?
Yes, they will dim together, right? They're run off of batches. So when the LEDs are produced, they're run off the same batches. So each sign will, I guess, separately dim equally, if that makes sense.
Sure. We won't notice it.
Correct. You won't notice it as it's actually happening. Again, it's going to become more of a tolerance. So as you're driving through the community, it's like, hey, that sign, it just looks a little bit more dim. Or, you know what, maybe we need to consider doing an LED upgrade. And that's really where we're at, is that essentially you remove the letters from the sign, replace the LED, and continue about your business.
And have you dealt with IDOT and their feedback before?
We have not had too many problems in the way of right-of-way. However, we do get into the situation where we have to have breakaway foundations. So essentially that if a car does actually hit this, that the sign does break away, it's not a solid structure that could cause damage and ultimately fatalities. So we do have in our foundations already planned for breakaway foundations.
Great. And how long do we expect before the IDOT feedback comes back to us?
I don't have a good answer for you on that one.
We're hoping within the next couple of weeks we'll be able to get through the whole discussion with IDOT. We're getting in touch with the reviewer who is working on it and to try to have a direct conversation. But we hope in the next few weeks we should have the final answer around the same time frame that we hope to have a final cost estimate from the contractor.
And then once we say this is great and IDOT's happy, time frame.
Well, you guys are you're the village, so we don't have to worry too much in the way of permits. So we can start almost immediately. We're talking about roughly an 8 to 10 week process.
Thank you.
No other questions?
No, here.
Oh, Trustee Kruger, sorry.
Thank you. Hi. My question's regarding landscaping. As much as I love landscaping and really dig the deluxe landscaping plan, you guys do the installation?
Not of the landscaping. We will actually be using a subcontractor for that.
And then I guess this would be a question for Andrew or John. Maintenance of said landscaping beyond installation is us?
Correct. It's on the village. This plan, we worked with Director Janik to try and come up with something that made sense. In the design phase, we spoke with the consultant too, and the direction was to come up with as maintenance-free as possible. Of course, there's always maintenance involved with landscaping, but we were aware of that from the beginning and wanted to put the least burden on public works, whether that's irrigation or just general maintenance.
Okay, so the reason I bring that up, and I figured that that was the case, but we do have a Wheeling Garden Club. And I had often wondered if this kind of landscaping couldn't be something that our Wheeling Garden Club couldn't champion, even if it's just a maintenance. Would that be something that I should reach out to the?
I think that would be a great initiative, yes.
I will certainly do that, thanks.
Although, based on Clerk Simpson's face, I'm not so
Maybe
sure.
I shouldn't, Clerk Simpson?
No, it's a good idea. We're always looking for other areas to help improve and get our name out there.
Maybe I should get on the garden club, maybe to help.
Yeah, it might be a good idea.
I think Elaine should have to do it by herself.
We can have the whole board on the garden club.
Trustee Vito's in rare form tonight.
Thank you very much.
It's been a long
My
day.
line of questioning is over, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kruger. If there are any other comments?
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Lang.
Second.
Second, Trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Harker?
Yes. Official communications. Comments from the board? Trustee Lang?
Sure. I'd like to say how awesome that crane is over on Dundee Road here, putting up that parking garage. It's pretty amazing. John, you mentioned how much building is going on, and it's just incredible to see drive down Dundee Road. I've had so many people, family and friends who've been in town saying how tremendous this looks with all the building going on out here. And that crane is just incredible. It's so huge. I had another question about the 17 acres. And is the grade of that proper right now, or does it need to be regraded? I know there's been a lot of earth movement back and forth years ago, and it's all seemed to have stopped a few years back. So where do we stand, or where does that land stand on being graded? Do we know that?
I'm not sure that any of us can answer that off the cuff. I think part of that answer would be dependent upon what the final use would be. But I can get you whatever information we have.
Okay, just curious. I've driven through there and by there and noticed that it is up very high.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if that's proper grade for that or not. So, and what needs to be done to correct all that, because I know there's some future out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lang. Anyone else? Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. I just want to give a shout out to Public Works and our Stormwater Maintenance Fund. We've had a lot of rain the past few weeks, and Director Janik, how was Wheeling Road? and what's going on?
Wheeling Road so far is perfect.
Great.
And we haven't had that much rain, but we have had substantial amount of rain. Today we had a good amount of rain. It was coming down pretty good, but the real test will be in the spring.
And I think it's something to look forward to, and we've had standing water on that road on and off for as long as I can remember, and I've lived here for a long, long time. So, I'm grateful that we're trying something, we're looking at it, and we're staying on top of it. I think it's great. And tonight, we heard an awful lot of discussion about 6B, and there were some numbers thrown out and some facts, some statements made that I believe were, no other way to put it, but incorrect. When a taxing body says they go out for a referendum, it's not because 6Bs were granted. A taxing body goes out and says, this is the amount of money we need. And that amount of money is split up from all of the parcels that pay taxes. It has nothing to do with, the referendum is above and beyond what they can ask for in the taxing, for the levy. The village sends, we need X amount, and it's split between all of the homeowners or the business owners and all of the taxing bodies. It does get extremely complicated, but as Director Milanofi stated, 6Bs bring businesses into our community, and it takes a parcel, in this particular case, and brings up the amount of tax that will be received by not only the Village of Wheeling, but by all taxing bodies significantly, by more than tenfold. I think it might be time to have some sort of an educational session on how 6Bs work, how TIFs work, so that people have a better understanding and before these statements can be made. And I also want to give a shout out to our budget process. We put forth this tonight, I think it's 200, it was close to $500,000 from the SURF funds to replace equipment, and that is a big deal, and I'm really glad to see that. Not to mention a great grant from the fire department. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Vogel?
To reiterate a little bit about the 6B, thank you, John. I think you explained thoroughly the benefits and the necessity of 6Bs, and hopefully cleared up some of the misunderstanding in the audience on it. So I appreciate what you did tonight. Thank you.
Time did not permit me to refutate all the different miscalculations of misstatement of facts, because there were a lot of things that were mentioned, but we have a very rigid program and we've been very judicious. We also, many of them never get to the board because we can tell the applicant that they don't meet the eligibility requirements. So we look at these before they ever get to the board. So
the fact you pointed out the 12-fold increase in tax,
yes,
was important, and I think that kind of surprised a few people. So, again, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vogel. Over the course of the last few months, we've lost some very integral members of our community. We're at a transitional time, I suppose, in town. As a result, we do have some vacancies on our committees. And I would like to encourage members of the community who might have thought about it in passing in the past, is there a way that I can become a part of this show? It's not always bad. There's a lot of good stuff that happens, and there's a lot of good committees to be on. I know we have some vacancies on the Board of Health. I know we have a vacancy on the Planning Commission. There are places for people to volunteer if they have the slightest inclination. Who would they call? Where would they start, John? got you cold on this one. Sorry, didn't warn you.
If they can certainly check the website to see what available positions there are as far as committee openings. If it is voluntary, I think Director Huisar is probably the best bet to shepherd that request.
Thank you. That is all I have. If there are no other comments, you have before you the bills from December 13th, 2018 through January 2nd, 2019, and I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Motion, Trustee Vogel.
Second?
Second, Trustee Kruger. Roll call, please.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, we have no executive session tonight, so I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Trustee Kruger. Second, Trustee Papantos. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion, meeting adjourned. Thank you all for staying.